The absolute hypocrisy of this Labour government and its members has absolutely no bounds, even when they are the subject of some really awful remarks. Now, the remarks against Jess Phillips were really awful. I'll come back to those in a minute, but as I say, the hypocrisy knows no bounds. So I'll come to that in this video. You won't believe what I've found and the levels of hypocrisy that demonstrated here, even with such words being exchanged. Now, first of all, if you're new to me, I am Daniel Smith, the Barrister of England and Wales. Please do hit the subscribe button. I'm getting more of you to subscribe now, but I have a goal of 1 million subscribers. Please help me get there. I depend on you, the viewer, to do so. So you'll probably, if you follow the news at all, you'll probably be familiar with the words used by Elon Musk against Jess Phillips in relation to all of the stories about grooming gangs, the call for an inquiry, and so on. And the words used by Elon Musk, I won't repeat verbatim here because it's not right for YouTube for me to do so, but you can read them here. Suffice to say, he called her a something genocide apologist. An R-word genocide apologist. Now that is an awful comment, but free speech being what it is, he's entitled to make that comment and people can starkly disagree with it and people can say it's awful. Now, to make it absolutely clear, I don't condone the comment. I don't think it's a nice comment. I don't think people should make those comments, but that's not the point. I will also fight for people's right to say what they think. But at the same time, obviously, it's been reported now that she's obviously very upset by this comment. She said that it's put her in danger. There's a man who's been charged with malicious communications to Jess Phillips, but let's be clear, those incidents are reported to have been taken place between April 2024 and January 2025, so it's unclear whether any of the recent ones have anything to do with this latest story here about Elon Musk's comments. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, and even if I did, I probably couldn't comment unless it's absolute fact, because that's obviously an ongoing thing. He's been charged for this offence. But nonetheless, she's obviously upset by these comments. They've obviously had an effect on her life. She said that she feels like she's the subject of a stream of attacks from Elon Musk. She said her daily life is currently different, being in the spotlight like this, and the intonation of what Elon Musk said. The disinformation, as she puts it, many people don't think it's disinformation. Again, that's down to subjective views. And ultimately, she said that she feels it's endangering her. So all of this, now, as I said, I don't condone comments like that. I'm just telling you what I think here and calling out inconsistencies. And where there are inconsistencies, there are usually previous statements where people have said things in the past that kind of go against what they are currently saying. So just to be absolutely clear, right now she is complaining that Elon Musk has called her an R-word genocide apologist. However, it was pointed out on X that Jess Phillips herself has made something of a similar comment towards George Galloway here. Back in 2015, as they say, there's always a tweet. Back in September 2015, Jess Phillips herself posted, and it's still there now. I'm looking at it right now. This is live. It's not a screenshot. It's still there now. She said, "Today I saw George Galloway on the beach. I told him that he was an R-word apologist." Another thing ticked off the bucket list. Now, whether she actually saw him or not is irrelevant. Whether she actually saw him and said that to him is somewhat irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, she posted this on Twitter, as it then was, and I don't know how many followers she had at the time, but looking now, she has 674,000 followers. Even, let's say it was half. I don't know how many it was at the time, but even let's say it was half of what it is now. That's still hundreds of thousands of people that she posted that out to. Now, just as an aside for a moment, if I may plug one of my own pro bono projects, that's where I've given up my time for free to help another organisation. In this case, my martial arts organisation, the TC UK. They haven't asked me to do this. They certainly haven't paid me to do this. This is not sponsored in any way. I've given up my time for free to help them because I really believe in the cause that they are working with. Now, I've recently launched a law course on self-defense, the law of self-defense, not just for martial artists, but it does have obviously a very strong overlap with martial arts. That's me in the background there, kicking the boards in the background. Now, for the moment, this is going to be a one-time fee for a limited time for those that join up, and otherwise is going to be $9.99 a month. It all goes to the TC UK. None of it comes to me. The first video on here, you can see here, is about 30 minutes long. I go into great detail about case law for self-defense and so on. And there's lots more that I'm going to build out into this course, which will include things to do with weapons, carrying things, and all sorts of stuff to do with martial arts, and you defending your home and defending yourself out in the streets. For those of you that don't know much about me and my martial arts background, obviously the Black Belt Barrister name is not just a play on words. I am a black belt. I am a master 7th degree black belt in Taekwondo. I also did Shaolin Kung Fu very intensively for some years, and I've also taught the army and elite forces with close quarters combat with polearm. I can link that in the description below. You can go and have a look. And I've been training martial arts now for well over 35 years. I've been teaching for at least 2 decades. So with an overlap with the law, I suggest, the perfect person to talk to you about the law of self-defense and how to protect yourself in this modern dangerous world. So please do support me to support my organization with the time that I've given up for free to assist them. All of the money goes to them, and for a limited time only there is a one-off fee of $14.99, after which it will revert to $9.99 per month. So please do sign up, please do support me. That's in the description below. You can sign up at blackbeltbarrister.com/courses/self-defense, but I'll put that link in the description below. So thank you for that, and now let's get back to the video. So surely if she objects to being called things like that on a public platform to hundreds of thousands of people with the potential of reaching hundreds of millions of people, then she shouldn't be doing that either. But there it is, and it still exists now. She posted that herself in 2015 about George Galloway. Now, again, people may or may not like George Galloway. That is somewhat irrelevant. It's irrelevant really who says these things, and it's irrelevant about whom these things are said, unless, of course, indeed, if they are a convicted person of that kind of offence. I'm sure George Galloway would probably object to her comments about that. I certainly would if I was George Galloway. I would object to those comments, just like I can understand that Jess Phillips would object to those comments. But at the same time that she is complaining about them, saying that it's changed her life and made her feel under threat, she was perfectly happy to make those comments about George Galloway back in 2015. So as I said, the hypocrisy knows no bounds here. But today is going to be a huge day in this whole story, because MPs are to vote on the call for a national inquiry specifically looking at national grooming gangs in very specific detail. As I said, there's a lot of detail to go into about that, but suffice to say that they will vote today, and reportedly Keir Starmer has ordered his party to vote against this inquiry, which to me goes against democracy, because each MP is elected by his or her constituency to represent their views. So if their views are not reflected in what Keir Starmer says, then surely that is not a democracy, because then the MP for that constituency is expected by Keir Starmer to follow his views and not the views of his or her constituency. That's a problem to me, because to me a real democracy is where the MP votes the views that properly or more adequately reflect the views of the collective views of his or her constituents. And if they are not allowed to do that because they are ordered, if this is the case, if they are ordered by Keir Starmer, as I read it reported today, if they are ordered to vote against, which is his wish, then one has to ask the question, why? Is it solely because there has already been an inquiry and they just want to rely on that? Because there are many people that don't believe that was adequate. Suffice to say, many people don't feel that that was adequate. Many people's voices were not heard. Is it solely because they want to get on and implement the recommendations from that inquiry, which I support, by the way? I think they should get on and do those recommendations. But that does not preclude another inquiry in very specific and targeted areas for very specific and targeted timeframes that perhaps were not covered in that original inquiry. It doesn't prevent those recommendations from being carried forward whilst carrying out another inquiry, which may lead to further recommendations which would have been missed, probably, presumably, from the initial inquiry. New recommendations may have been missed, and culpability and accountability may have been missed by the initial inquiry, which may be uncovered by a new inquiry. So all of these are reasons that people are calling for this inquiry, and one has to ask the question why members of Parliament will be expected to vote against it. Is it purely because there was a previous inquiry, because many people don't think that that was adequate? Is it purely because they want to get on and do the recommendations? Because that's not a good enough excuse either, because they can do those and hold a further inquiry. Is it because, as the alternative, as the idea that's been circulated, is it because there is a fear that it may uncover the failings of lots of different people, including people that may be in government, many police forces, social workers, and so on, all up and down the chain across the country? It may well uncover lots of accountability and culpability that has not already been identified before. That is the rather cynical approach, that maybe there's a lot of responsibility here that just hasn't been uncovered, and that is why a lot of people are calling for this inquiry. They do want every stone to be overturned, to examine every corner of every year and every area of the country that may have not been looked at before. And sticking with the subject of free speech and democracy, Elon Musk has also tweeted today, please call your member of parliament and tell them that there are hundreds of thousands of little girls across Britain who have been and still are being systematically subjected to horrifying abuse, and that they deserve this full inquiry. If that is what your view is, you can give that to your local MP and insist that they represent your views in Parliament. Kemi Badenoch made an interesting point earlier today and said not a single person in authority has been held to account over this whole scandal so far. She said that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister himself, called for 9 inquiries in the last Parliament. Does he not see that by resisting this one, people will start to worry about a cover-up? That's what she said. Keir Starmer replied, this is an important issue. We have to focus on the victims and the survivors, and this isn't helpful. This sort of lies and misinformation and slinging of mud doesn't help anyone one bit. So there are obviously fierce views on both sides here, but I have to agree, if there's a resistance for an inquiry, which many people believe has not fully uncovered what's going on, has not fully held people to account for what has happened and is still happening, people will start to worry about this as a cover-up. So again, let me know your thoughts and comments in the box below. But as I said, I was tipped off to this huge hypocrisy today, actually by Chris Rose for credit. He said, there's always a tweet. And indeed, in this case, there is. There's always a tweet. And so going back, way back to 2015, Jess Phillips herself had been tweeting about the very thing that she's now complaining about. Only now, obviously, it's Elon Musk that's tweeted a similar thing to a much larger audience than perhaps she did at the time. But as I say, it's still a hypocrisy. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, and please do subscribe to the channel. I am just about to tip over 700,000 subscribers. I'm a couple of thousand off that. Please do subscribe. I will be very grateful. I am your independent barrister of the law and the media. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.